All right, welcome to the next lesson on ancient Greece. So, this lesson we're going to be talking about Greek philosophers. Not all of them, mainly just kind of some of the more big names that you just need to know in a basic way from ancient Greece. One of the questions I'd like to lead into this lesson with in class, that is what makes someone smart? And also, do you believe that people are naturally, like some person can be naturally born smarter than someone else? It can be an interesting discussion. Take a minute or two to think about that yourself at the moment. But just throw my 2 cents in there. Just when I was growing up, I would have answered those questions, or the second question, definitely in the idea of I definitely thought other people were born smarter than I was. I just didn't have the capability and the capacity they did. It just was my observation, basically, during grade school, basically. But nowadays, I have a different tune. Now with a lot of, you could say, experience behind you, life choices, things like that. And I think that a lot of times smartness comes down to just that, is basically making good choices. The compilation of choices in your life essentially creates who you are, and you just, how you look or how you are with other people, just it's kind of how it goes down. Anyways, just my 2 cents there. But there are interesting things to think about. But a lot of the names we're going to be bringing up here in a second are considered some of the smartest people ever to live in human history. And so just by default, in a way, you just think, well, what makes them smart? Why is that person considered so smart? What are the things that go about that? These are things you could have in the back of your mind as you listen to me talk about these guys and just the basics on them. I'm not going to be delving deep into this. This isn't a philosophy class. We do talk a lot about philosophy, but I'm not going to be delving that much into it, basically just saying. So first off, the first guy we're going to talk about is Socrates, or if you're a big fan of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Socrates. But the first thing you need to get down is he is considered the father of philosophy. By the way, philosophy basically the word philosophy basically means the study of thinking, the study of thought. I put a nice little quote there on there for you. But Socrates, how do you put this? His major contribution is this idea that you question everything. Oh, sorry. I thought I had put that in there. Anyways, you question everything. You definitely want to put that in your notes. We do things today, like in our classes, in school in general, just where we have the debates or talks or kind of round robins that are done that utilize what's called the Socratic method. And it's simply just the idea of you question everything. That was his whole idea. You can find truth by asking questions about everything. And that really got, at least going into the history behind Socrates, that got a lot of people liked him, although the more of the younger generations liked him. Question everything. This does get him in trouble, though, is that when he's inspiring everybody to question everything, it's mostly the younger generations that are questioning. Well, who do they question? The older generations, parents, teachers, political leaders, and things like that. And that makes Socrates a very, very unsavory character to most of his peers. Like, what are you doing turning the younger generations against you? His mindset would be like, I'm not turning them against you, I'm just having them ask questions to come to a better truthful idea and maybe a better conclusion on how things are done, especially in how we run our society. He actually gets put on trial for this. I'm not going to get into this whole story, but he gets put on trial. This is basically a sham trial. And he is sentenced to commit suicide, which is weird. Now, a lot of his followers say, hey, just get out of here, just leave. You don't need to follow along with this. This was not fair. And he actually, when I say that he philosophizes his own death, he basically says, I've told you this whole time that one of the main philosophies is if society is going a certain way and you know it shouldn't be going that way, sometimes you just have to go along to get along. And that way you help out the greater good better. And just with that own argument, he says, so if society is asking me to get rid of myself, then I have a moral duty to do so. That painting I show you at the bottom there is a very famous painting where essentially Socrates is telling this to his students as he's about to drink hemlock juice, or poison basically, to commit suicide. And he does so. So it's one of those things where, that doesn't seem like a very smart end to someone who has influenced society in such a great way. Like, not just his society, but all societies since his time have been influenced greatly by his teachings and just his system of questioning. One of his students is this guy, a guy named Plato. I'm not going to go really deep into this guy, but let's just put it this way. he talks a lot about politics, governance. What is a good society versus a not so great society? Can you have a perfect society type thing? And he writes about all of his ideas in a book called The Republic. I'm going to go into the book The Republic right now. This used to be kind of mandatory reading, I guess you could say, in a lot of high schools, colleges, and things like that. And we don't really see it talked about much any longer. But this guy is incredibly influential in the setup of modern, you could say, the modern democratic states today. So, but he was one of the students of Socrates, and his ideas that he puts forth in the Republic, and though not all are embraced, is very influential. Next up, we have Aristotle, who was a student of Plato. So if you can get this idea that you got like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, almost like if they were related, grandfather, father, son type stuff. Aristotle is known as this genuine know-it-all. Like, he dabbles in everything. He's not just a philosopher. He's not just into kind of politics and things like that. Although he is in that, he does get into that a bit. But he dabbles in everything, into the sciences, philosophy, politics, mathematics, just everything. And he just astounds a lot of people. He's viewed as one of the smartest people ever to live. Although, interestingly enough, most of his conclusions he came to, understandably since he didn't have tons of the stuff we have today, have been proven false. But even with that, he's still viewed as one of the greatest thinkers of all time. So I'm not going to go delve deep into this. I'm trying to keep this video a little bit on the shorter side. If you want to learn more about Aristotle, not a bad idea. Like, I would highly suggest it. This guy is incredibly influential throughout the course of human history. Okay, next guy. I have referenced this guy a lot in this class. Mainly all the stories I told you about the Persian Wars, well, we get it from him. He is considered the first historian ever, the father of history. Although he's not that great at it, the way we look at historians today, get to the facts and try to be as unbiased as you possibly can. We definitely know he exaggerates and he loves to tell a story. But he did take a long time going around the Greek, basically the Greek and Persian world, just collecting stories to essentially chronicle that for the purpose of having future generations have those stories. And even though we don't consider him to be a great historian, he did inspire guys like this guy, Thucydides, who really we see as a father of history as well, because he is the first guy that looks at things and says, okay, how do I look at things and how do I look at a situation and just tell the story in an unbiased way? And for instance, he is Athenian and he lives during the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. Yet we believe we have a very good history of that war, like the first really well chronicled war of all history, because he tries to tell it from an unbiased position. Yes, he's Athenian, but he tries to just talk about, okay, this is what the Athenians did good and bad, this is what the Spartans did good and bad, this is exactly what happened, this is who involved, and he really kind of dives deep into things. And I've read Thucydides a bit. I enjoy it because I like the topic he's going over, but he is considered a very dry read, meaning he's not fun. Herodotus is fun to read. He's a storyteller. Thucydides, he's a historian. And with that, you kind of get more of that stereotypical idea that, well, I'm going to fall asleep because I'm learning about history. Hopefully no one's falling asleep listening to this at this moment. So, but Thucydides, I'll blame Thucydides on that one. So, next guy to talk about. If you wonder where your math classes come from, basically you can blame Pythagoras pretty much for this one. He's the one that even comes up with the term mathematics. Although if you're wondering if the Pythagorean theorem has anything to do with this guy, yes, he is the guy that comes with the Pythagorean theorem. Simply put, I like to talk about this guy. Well, I'm not going to go into too much, but just I like bringing him up, I should say, just in the idea of knowing that the math that we go through today, like even up through geometry, algebra, things like that, is stuff the ancient Greeks were doing. It's not new. We get it from them, and we built on top of what they did, stuff that they were talking about thousands of years ago. So, I talked about the Pythagorean theorem. So I think this is the last guy we're going to talk about, is Hippocrates. Now, there's other guys we could talk about. I apologize, this is maybe someone you were looking forward to. But Hippocrates, to get this out of the way, this has nothing to do with the term hypocrite, just so you know. There's a ton of things we've gone through so far where it's like, yes, we get that word from the Greeks here, and we get that from the Greeks there, or the Romans. In this case, that's not the case. So Hippocrates is known as the father of medicine. It's from him that we get just this idea that, well, health can be something that you have control over. It's not just a superstition idea. Just the best way I can explain Hippocrates' influence in the world of medicine is, if someone falls sick or someone's in trouble or has a major health problem, the first thing you do isn't pray to the gods and just hope that things get better. Maybe you do something like surgery. Maybe there's something you can do to help this get better, and that you can kind of test it. Is like, does this work in every situation? Does this just work for you? And Hippocrates really got into the idea of trial and error. He essentially used the scientific method in trying to fix people, help people get better. And because of his efforts, well, he's known as the father of medicine. And in fact, today, all doctors and nurses have to take something called the Hippocratic Oath, which is where basically you say you'll help anyone at any time, anywhere, under any circumstances if they are in need of medical help. On duty or off duty type thing. And that oath has actually helped in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases protect medical workers from, you could say, just everybody understands that you're going to be helped. This is normal. This is not normal throughout history, but normal for us today is just knowing that if someone's a doctor or nurse, whether they like you or dislike you, they will help. And a lot of it has to do with that Hippocratic Oath that they take. Anyways, this is going to end the lesson on the philosophers. I was hoping to keep this one a bit shorter than the other ones. Again, I didn't go over everyone, but the main purpose of this is just showing you, we get a lot of our stuff from ancient Greece. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next lesson.